Hey guys, welcome back to the DMV channel. I'm Jeff Dixon, Isaiah is behind the camera, and today we're going to be putting this on our LS SWAT Miata.
Oh no, yeah, I tried this a million times. Oh no, to get this off my mind. Yeah, sometimes I feel really low.
So, as you can see on our discount LS Miata, it's crunched right here. We paid $350 for the car without a motor. This was the primary reason why they gave up on this car. Is it was wrecked too bad to repair for them. But we've got our part, and I think the hardest part about this is going to be figuring out where we're going to cut it to put it into the car, to graft it in and make sure it all lines up. Initially, Isaiah and I talked about drilling out all the factory spot welds and trying to do it in sections, but honestly, that's too much work. What I want to do is line up with the trunk seam here and use that as a straight edge line. And then I also want to use this line, and I want to cut it, we need this part too, so I want to cut it probably way back to here. And then I think I'm just going to draw a straight line along here, and then somewhere make a transition up around the frame and over. I don't know, we'll figure it out. Okay, we got the old one out. You can see it here. It's quite a bit different. So now what we're going to do is take some measurements and transfer onto this and cut this out and start slowly trying to shape it back in. Metal's real thin. Got to be real patient about this. If we take too much off of this now, there's not really any good way to make it up. So I want to take really careful measurements. And we did a little writing on that, on that side of it, I should say. And we'll transfer it to this and see what we come up with. Gapping up really well. It looks pretty good. So I'm going to grind it all clean everywhere, wire wheel out all the body filler. We're going to do a stitch weld, move about an inch, do a stitch weld, move about an inch, do a stitch weld. And we're going to keep doing that until they're completely cool. That way we don't warp any of the body panels. Okay, we got this ground down, cleaned up, paint off of it, both sides, seam sealer out, ready to be welded. So now we're going to prep this and get it ready to be welded. We're going to take the paint off of it. Man, this is my favorite color of Miata. I love this color blue. But anyway, we'll get the seam sealer out of this. We'll get it ready, prepped up, and then we'll begin the tack welding. And man, I think it's going to turn out pretty good. It would have been so much harder to do this anyway, any other way. So I'm pretty happy with the way we're doing it. I think the end results are going to be fine. But after all, this is going to be just a toy car. So not trying to win any major awards here, but I'm hoping when it's done, nobody will be able to tell it's ever been grafted together. All right, let's grind. Oh, what a mess. Rusty garage. This is the 023 wire. It's quite a bit thinner. I usually run a 30. This is going to be really good for sheet metal, but man, I haven't used it in like 5 years, so it is really rusty. This garage, it rusts everything. The old rusty garage! That's what we should have called the show. It's really a barn though. Well, at least it used to be when we had cows and stuff. Now it's a car garage. That's looking better. Well, got all that cleaned up. Turned out real nice. All right, I have got it all tacked on and fitted. Our seam's looking real good. Got my Facebook Marketplace filler panel on back here to make sure it all fits well. We fit the trunk. It all fits real good. There is a bigger gap down here at the bottom, but we'll be able to pull this up. You can see we'll be able to wiggle that together, use a little bit of dolly and hammer. I was afraid when we did this that I was going to have to cut this into 2 pieces, but we actually got it all in there as 1 piece. Everything fits good. The trunk fits good. This is a big hurdle. I'm really excited about it. I was actually a little bit nervous about this because the car was pretty crunched and I was afraid other parts of it were bent, but the more I looked at it, the more I realized it wasn't too bad. And finding this for 40 bucks on the marketplace was just a heck of a deal. And it's my favorite color Miata. So anyway, I think it's gonna go really good. Now I'm gonna finish welding it up. We're gonna stitch weld the whole thing, grind it, and we'll use air to keep it cool and keep the warping to a minimal. You know, when you're doing things like this, it is going to warp. You've got to know that. But if you take your time, stitch it, make sure your spot welds go all the way through to the backside. You want that penetration. That way when you grind this down, you don't grind the weld away. But it can be done pretty successfully. People used to do this all the time in body and repair, and it's an art that I haven't mastered, and I would not say that I'm great at it, but boy, anymore it just seems like it's replaced panels on cars. So I'm a little nervous about it, but it's going good. But we're gonna stitch it up and get back to work on it. Okay, we're not gonna win any awards with that, but I'll do a little more hammering and dollying on it. I spent a little while chasing pinholes. I do want to make sure there is no pinholes coming through. That's definitely a way to pop the body filler off. So the way I like to do it is we're gonna clean up both sides of this. Then we'll primer both sides of this. I like to do the primer first. Then we'll seam sealer the inside to make sure no moisture gets through to our body filler. Body filler is very porous, and we don't want water getting into our body filler. If we do, it'll get rust jack behind it and pop it off, and it looks terrible. And then after we primer this, then we'll put a little body filler on it, feather it out, and primer it all again. You know, this thin metal on this Miata actually welded up really well. I was surprised. It was pretty easy to work with. There's a crease there, but anyway, El Cheapo paint job, and we're gonna wrap it, so it doesn't matter. I just want it to look nice. Just because you're poor doesn't mean you have to be trashy. Well, we've got it all stitched up. I don't know, several hundred stitches, I don't know. Sometimes I had real good run of stitches. I get 4 or 5, they'd be beautiful. Sometimes they'd be crap. The first one's definitely the hardest one, to get that first bead to lay down flat. But then to come back with your second, third, and fourth, and fifth stitch, you really start getting a rhythm. But then it's time to quit, cool the part down with a little bit of air, move on. So now we're just gonna grind it all, do a little dolly work. And I think we're gonna get back to sanding the car and getting it ready to paint. We have one more little spot to do some body work on, but I think we'll get that another time.
Yeah, I wish Bob Marley would still be alive.